Imagine turning $180 million from PayPal into a mission to colonize Mars. That's exactly what Elon Musk did, and it's probably the most audacious pivot in business history.
That's such an interesting way to frame it. Most people would have just retired to a beach somewhere after that kind of payday.
Well, what fascinates me is how his early life shaped this relentless drive. Here was this bullied kid in South Africa who found refuge in encyclopedias and computers, and somehow turned that isolation into fuel for innovation.
And that pattern of turning setbacks into opportunities seems to define his whole career, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Like when SpaceX's first 3 rockets failed. Most people would have given up, but he was literally sleeping in the factory, working alongside engineers to solve problems. Though I think it's worth noting he was on the brink of bankruptcy at that point.
You know what's wild about that period? He had enough money left for just one more launch attempt.
Right, and that 4th launch succeeded, leading to that game-changing $1.6 billion NASA contract. But let's talk about something really interesting, how he approaches problem solving. With Tesla, he didn't just try to build an electric car, he completely reimagined what a car company could be.
Well, that's a fascinating point. How would you say his approach differs from traditional automakers?
So think about this. Instead of competing directly with cheap economy cars, he started with a $100,000 sports car to prove electric vehicles could be exciting. Then gradually worked down to more affordable models. It's like, climbing down a ladder instead of trying to jump up one.
That strategy really changed public perception of electric vehicles from environmental necessity to luxury status symbol.
Here's a thought experiment. What 3 key decisions do you think transformed Tesla from a niche startup into the world's most valuable car company? Take a moment to think about it.
Well, I'd say the Roadster proving electric cars could be exciting, the Model S showing they could be practical luxury vehicles, and the supercharger network solving the infrastructure problem.
Exactly. And that brings up another interesting point about his approach to vertical integration. Instead of relying on suppliers and existing infrastructure, he tends to build everything from scratch, even when conventional wisdom says that's impossible.
Though that approach has definitely led to some of his biggest controversies too.
You know, that's a really important point. His management style, those provocative tweets, the SEC fines, they're all part of this complex picture. Like, how do you balance pushing boundaries with responsible leadership?
And now with ventures like Neuralink and The Boring Company, he's taking on even more ambitious challenges.
Let's wrap this up with one final thought experiment. What do you think drives someone to keep pushing forward after they've already achieved more than most people could dream of? Take a moment.
That's what makes his story so fascinating. It's not about the money or success. It's about this almost obsessive drive to solve humanity's biggest challenges.
And maybe that's the real lesson here. Sometimes the most impactful innovations come from people who refuse to accept conventional limitations, even if that makes them controversial figures. Whether you love him or hate him, you can't deny he's pushed us to rethink what's possible.